Good evening. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am the West African correspondent, Amara. Welcome to the latest news update on the continent of Africa. I know it's been a while, it's over a month now. If not, you could be like, okay, less than a month since I last on this particular show. It is because that I was unavoidably absent in Sierra Leone and been in China for maybe 21 days, almost a month, looking about the media censorship in China. I was maybe somehow permitted to do the program, but it was definitely not advisable because it could be possible that my page could have been blocked. Maybe I could have been summoned for any other thing. Because we all know the Chinese government censors things like Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, Telegram. They only encourage WeChat, maybe a few other social network like TikTok created by themselves. They use it, but going on social media programs, especially when they see that you are broadcasting either to entertain or enlighten people, they do not actually permit it. And being that I never wanted my brief stay in China, in the southern part of China, I never wanted it to actually be disturbed, so I had little or no option rather than to obey by the dispensation of the communist system. We all know that when you go into Rome, you actually live like the Romans. I also mixed doing the program. I greatly felt that when I was out for quite a long time. But all the same, welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am the West African correspondent, Amara. Welcome to the latest news update. Today we have a series of news program that we are going to run. We spent touch into Kenya, and we also about Kenyan big shops, but they're actually holding a kind of summit into Rome, that is the capital city of Italy, or the Vatican city, to see, or Vatican. We went into it because the Vatican is one of the few, maybe smallest country, but it is engulfed by Italy. So they went actually there to hold a summit with the Pope to see what are certain things that they should actually qualify as Christendom demand. Then we also see how Zambian opposition party unite against the imprisonment. Then we also visit Liberia. UN condemns election-related violence in Mama Liberia county ahead of the October election this year. Actually, UN has actually condemned. I think we are almost nearing the opposition, the October election, because this October today is the election into the election-related violence in Liberia, and we'll see what happened over there and why the United Nations has condemned that particular act. Let's see what to do. Then we also see how Egypt, over 400 people arrested when they decided to protest against President Alpha Assisi bid for another 4th term into office. We are actually arrested. Then we'll get back into South Africa, where yes, we also learned that an opposition or the ruling party minister has been cleared of any corruption-related charges. Then we also visit places like Nigeria, where fire kills dozens of illegal, or dozen at an illegal oil refinery company in Nigeria. Then we also see how a small boat carrying in Ethiopia embassy in South Sudan, actually, okay, Northern Sudan came under attack. Ethiopia embassy in Northern Sudan came under attack. So let's start the story. Welcome to Focus on Liberia, African correspondent Amara. Welcome to important news update on the continent. The continent here is so important. Africa is hugely important. Africa is hugely important, that we really need to discuss things that affect our being, things that maybe that have actually been trouble in the country. And we all know how the continent is a diversified one, political sentiment, maybe demonstrations because of one or two reasons. People are actually going on a rampage. the less informed you are, the more you develop the tendency to attack social institutions on the continent. Maybe because of ill feeling, because of lack of social cooperation, maybe even because of lack of information. You see, an uninformed person is definitely a handicap, because when your mind is handicapped, you are definitely also handicapped. So it sometimes makes people to go bananas. Maybe people do not actually need to go bananas, but they will definitely go bananas if they are not being given the quality information. I think also hold our leaders surely responsible for that. I think they need to inform people. Okay, the purpose, let us start in Kenya. Key Vatican summit is not conservative versus radicals. Key Vatican summit is not a conservatives versus radical summit. That is what the Kenyan bishops are saying. You know, radicals, I normally say, I'm also a radical, but I'm a positive radical. Anybody who is educated and is not a radical, you definitely cannot succeed. So we need people who are positive radicals, not negative radicals. So what they are saying here, conservative is like people who stick to one mentality. Those who believe that maybe you can even term people who fail to change, maybe in certain attitude. They could be like the girls and the fools, because they say it is only the girls and the fools that do not change. So the conservative people believe that this what was made over there, it becomes sacrosanct, become untouchable, become unmovable, it's impeccable. So those things should be there forever and ever. So we are seeing radicals coming on. No, this is they believe in maybe automatic change. Definitely, I support the mentality of radicalism, but I believe in positive radicalism, and those things should definitely be transported out. So what they are saying is the purpose of the month-long summit of Catholic Church leaders in Europe is not to decide which category of people are important or not. That is what they are saying. Okay, a Nigerian bishop has told the BBC, Catholic bishops from around the world converge at the Vatican on Wednesday for the synod, which they will take on crucial issues that have polarized the church. These topics include the blessing of gay couples. Is that part of our lineage? Is that part of our culture? Is that what has actually been happening? Was that originally part of the church? Maybe in my little knowledge about the Bible, I know that God condemned and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because of the activities of gayism and lesbian, that is, of gays and lesbian. But why gays and lesbian attitude now polarizing the world, infiltrating the church, even dividing continent? Unfortunately, we are even seeing certain people on the continent, like some of our so-called maybe Western countries. Sometimes they will even fail to give certain support to maybe people in the world, like certain countries who may tend not to support the act of gays and lesbianism. If you condemn it, let's see like what Robert Gabriel Mugabe, this guy, I'm sorry, Yoweri Museveni in Zimbabwe, Yoweri Museveni of Uganda is going through. Museveni has been condemned by the West because he has failed to maybe support the acts of gays and lesbians in his country. He condemned the entire acts and created certain legislation which also have been passed into parliament, and has got his assent that anybody who is caught in the act of gays and lesbianism can definitely be prosecuted. They can be tried, they can be tortured, and some of them can even go into imprisonment. And he even created a type of law that maybe if you are found of having supported or accommodated, if not rent a house to any gays or lesbian couples, you are definitely going to be imprisoned, maybe pay certain fines. And if you know that a gay and lesbian or gays and lesbians are living into certain community, you feel to persecute them, and they have come to know about it, you can also be persecuted. And parents whose children have joined the act of gays and les can also feel imprisonment term. And some, in fact, they said if you are caught sexually abusing a minor, sexually abusing somebody who is actually underage, they will use like an aggravated sexual assault, and you could be condemned or sentenced, if not hang. And the West went against my maybe dictator Yoweri Museveni of Uganda. I know I do not support his attitude or his mentality of not being a pro-democrat, because when he came into power in he came into power since 1986, he promised to actually go against any mentality of African leaders who tend to stay for long in power. Unfortunately, the power conveniency, or the comfortability of power have maybe indulged him into other activities, and he's now behaving unscrupulously. And that love for power, which makes him a power monger, have now colonized or clouded his sense of judgment. He does not intend to leave power. But he's one of the most powerful leaders that we have on the continent, who will wash the West into their faces and maybe tell them that I am not going to do this, and he will not do it. He has been condemned by both UN, by European nations, by the Americas, because he failed to support gays and lesbians, and enacted, if not passed, a law. The parliament passed the law, it went to him, and it got an assent for the persecution of those people. So these are some of the things that now polarize the world. And these things include like the blessing of gays marriage in church. I think when God created man, or when God created a man and a woman, he blessed them, say, go into the world. And you multiply, you increase. Can we become increased, or can we multiply in number by becoming couples, by females becoming couples, or male becoming couple with themselves? That is what I mean. A man cannot marry a man and he expect him to produce a child. Neither with a female married a female and expect them to produce a child. So these are some of the things. Also, some of these things that polarize the church is like blessing of gay couples in church. Some pastors who are so poor, who are very unthoughtful, they lack the tenacity of watching at certain things and condemn them. Maybe they are gifted, but I cannot even say these are carnal pastors. They will definitely use certain scriptures to qualify these things. That's why they say ordination of female deacons. Maybe those female deacons that want actually to be ordinated is a very controversial thing. That is why the Bible sometimes very controversial. It's very ambiguous, because the feeling of ambience that follow the ambiguousness of the Bible will definitely give you certain things. It's very open to any meaning. Some churches will definitely condemn that females should not become deacons. Why? Some churches will definitely tell you that a female is worthy to become a pastor. Some will definitely not allow it. So we all know the Catholic is a conservative society. They have meant to see how they can do. Maybe the extension of the sacrament to divorce people. All of those things that we have seen. People who are in maybe other marriages today, they want to see that they are divorced. But unfortunately, you got married into the Catholic Church. They say, till death do you part. So since death do us part, death do you part, no matter what happens, you have to remain with that couple. You see what Peter, Bishop Matthew Kukwa of the Sokoto Catholic Diocese has described the categorization of the synod as pitching conservative versus radicals as a media hysteria. Maybe it could be people, the media could want to use it as a means maybe of creativity. But he's saying, no, that is not. The reality of the situation is that the responsibility of the Holy Father is to uphold. That is why they're saying the teachings of Christ, he told the BBC. But is the teaching of Christ part of gays and lesbians? Christ maybe was a celibate. Christ was definitely, not maybe, according to what I read from the Bible, Christ was a celibate. He practiced celibacy. It means he never involved himself with any people. Unfortunately, those of you who are Catholics, this is an open secret. Some of them have kids. You are seeing fathers with kids. Some of them do not even have the urge to become fathers or brothers. But it's an opportunity. And they will use it definitely to ensure that maybe they have their life prolonged in time of maybe having facility. They watch at the Catholic as a green and pastures. So they are saying. So he said that the purpose of the summit is for the Pope, for them to have a discussion with the Pope, and when they come back into their various countries, maybe they will see what to do. So the bishop in Africa also should watch at this thing and they see how they can focus on presenting the church as a unifying force instead of something that is division. So that is what is coming out of those bishop meetings. They involve some Africans and other Western church members who actually met in Rome to see how definitely they can maybe arrange these things and how the church should not be presented as a force that divides the country. So let's see. In Zimbabwe, in Zambia, oppositions, over 11 opposition parties are now converging and asking their supporters to protest against President Hakainde Hichilema. We all know the opposition are actually condemning the opposition party. The opposition parties are actually condemning the president because of high cost of living. Leaders from the political parties who held a joint press meeting on Wednesday actually said they were deeply concerned of unemployment. They have also discussing the country political impasse. Then at the same time, the economic stagnation. That is what they are saying. So they sent an open letter. They listed 18 issues on it. The very high price of basic commodities of food, and also the arbitrary arrest of opposition leaders. So it's like the president Hichilema is becoming so violent. Hakainde Hichilema is becoming so violent. He arrests, detain, torture, and even ban opposition protests in certain activities. Up to the president and his government to respond to certain deaths that they were having. And today, the copper bed country is really suffering from huge some investors into the country, but most of those things are falling down. So we are seeing a country that is suffering from one stage to another, which is so bad. Maybe we need to be very cautious over what we should do. So let's go into Kenya. In Kenya, a baby stealer in Kenyan society. It was so unfortunate that somebody who was employed by the hospital uses the hospital name, a staff, and other things to ensure that they exploit people. And he or she has a network where they converge people who will definitely go into that particular hospital, give birth to their kids, and they will use it as an opportunity to sell it to couples who do not have the opportunity maybe to give birth. That is what they are saying. So Fred Lapran was actually convicted and sentenced to 25 years imprisonment, but he will serve 15 years in prison, and the other 10 will definitely be on probation. So he was actually being exposed by the hospital. So it was actually Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital. And we all know Moi Kibaki was another former president of Kenya, and his wife, Mama Lucy Kibaki was the former first lady of Kenya, and it happens to be that in her hospital, things like that are definitely involved. So this is a very sad event. I think people need, in Africa, anything is just possible. Sometimes poverty, I cannot even say poverty, that is very wickedness, it's a very wicked act, and things like that definitely need to be condemned. It's a nefarious move, and people should definitely not encourage act like that. How on earth can you involve in marketing babies that you are stated to protect as a health worker? You have been taxed by the state and taxed by your profession to protect people who go to you for services, and they use this as an orphanage, receive money undercover to sell babies to people. So this is a very sad event, and I think people need to be very conscious. People need to be open up, and people need to be very open up into what happens and how it happened, because this is a very sad event, and the hospital will also be investigated, because the people believe that there is a network of people into that particular hospital, and he alone cannot be involved into selling babies. He must have a network. It is a well syndicated act. Maybe he has been caught, sentenced, but people are actually pushing for more prosecution. And I think the BBCI definitely investigated him, and the lady presented herself as if they are a couple that is definitely in need of a baby, and they have not been able to produce on their own. The man only asked less questions, and he promised them. So what they will normally do, if they are about to deliver babies to a particular home, like 3 homes or 2 homes, or even a home, which is very legal act, so they will say they are going to deliver like 3 babies to a particular home, but in actual fact it could be like 2 or only 1 on the paper. But you will definitely sign for like 3 babies, but those documents are going to be fake. You will only be aware that you only signed for a child which was actually delivered to your home, but on the real document it could be like you signed for 3 babies. So this thing can easily be done using the legal means to qualify the illegal means, and this man was arrested in 2020. In 2023, finally he has been sentenced to 25 years in prison, and he is expected to spend 15 years in prison, and the 10 could be on probation. How strong will he be? I don't know. So we need to be very careful on what to do. So let's see. The United Nations condemns election-related violence in Liberia. This is so key. The United Nations has said it is concerned about violence linked to Liberia's upcoming elections. On Friday, at least 2 people in the West African country died, and 20 were injured during clashes between supporters of the ruling Coalition for Change party and the opposition Unity Party. The United Nations Human Rights Office said these casualties occur in the Foya district, while there have also been outbreaks of violence in the Nimba, Montserrado, and Grand Cape Mount counties, ahead of next Tuesday general election, the statement continued. Our office has also documented 8 attacks on journalists by various political actors, 2 of which resulted in injuries. Spokesperson Seth Magangu said. The United Nations Human Rights Office also condemned the use of language which could amount to hate speech. My greatest problem in Liberia election is decency. It is not decent, honestly speaking. We want to have political maturity. Where people will come, maybe try to market their political ideologies without instigating the locals to violence. Violence has become perpetual. I think we need to act. In essence, strong condemnations of what shouldn't be done should be definitely made. If you listen to people like Yeke Koliba, how can you learn? What will you definitely take from a political nincompoop like that? I don't know, naivety, his violence nature. How is he even helping? How the sounding of his wordings is definitely helping upcoming Liberian politicians. And how constructive are they? They just believe maybe in political, personal vendetta, using profanity on social media, threatening. You cannot even listen to anything sensible from whatsoever thing he has been speaking. So what we are saying here, election should not always be associated with violence, although there is no election that have been conducted without violence. But those violence, look at innocent people being killed and 20 injured when the election is yet to take place. Next Tuesday is the election. So have you seen? So this thing need to be carefully thought of, and Liberians should also start thinking about what should be done and what should be done, because the act is dastardly, it is unexpected, it is a count of innocent life. Nobody knows what may happen. Nobody knows what may happen on Tuesday. Look at this. Just a week, less than a week to the election, people have been killed, tortured. We need political sanity. We need serenity into what they speak. We need that calmness. We need that convincing mentality. Why should you instigate? Go into clash. They have not been able to solve the typical Liberian problems. There is no food, no electricity, no good growth network. Even though Liberia have a lot of water resources, up to now they are suffering from water crisis. The basic necessity that should be provided to the typical Liberians is definitely have unscrupulous people who are on the helm of affairs, and those who surround them are all sycophants. This act is so bad, it is condemnable, and I think the UN and other international election observers should be very careful in how they handle this particular election, because poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance have engulfed Liberia, and these are the 3 greatest enemies of mankind. And those who are fortunate can easily use the less fortunate to buy cheap violence, or to buy them to buy their strength, their ideology with chicken change, and to ensure that they create chaos into the country. I think we need a very strong opposition, but not an opposition that will lead to the killing or to the loss of life of innocent Liberians. This is so bad. This is so bad. It's condemnable. It's unacceptable. It's unprofessional. And the act, the dastardly or cowardly act, should not be encouraged. Those unscrupulous politicians who have been surrounded by sycophants need to be brought to book and maybe charged for what they have done. This is so bad. This is absolutely bad. This is not. And all of those things did not help our society. Expecting a lot from the country. We had that ambition that Nigeria was going to scrutinize the system, the electoral, everything that they did failed. And now we have seen people even wanted to mimic what happened to Nigeria. But we all know, and people need to be very careful. I think I'm even afraid, because elections will have three phases. We have before, which is definitely what is happening today. We have during the election days, and we have after, when elections results are going to be pronounced, who won and how will the losing parties feel. But everybody should know that in elections you have winners, you have losers. But in Africa, the mentality of winners takes all and losers lose everything. We end up to create problem. So I think it's so bad, so bad. It's so really, really bad. How on earth 4 people, just for maybe few people who believed into themselves, want to, watching at the zone where this election took, the violence took place. It is in Foya district, that is in Lofa County. Foya district is actually located in Lofa County. And you see places like Grand Cape Mount. They reported cases like this. They said the casualties occur in Foya district, while there have also been outbreaks of violence in places like Nimba County, where you have the like of Prince Yama Johnson is there, a senator and a former rebel, who is terrorizing Liberians, maybe because of he could have been in jail if law have actually been acting into Liberia. This is why the Sierra Leonean society is a bit different from ours, because all those who bore the greatest responsibility into the world, we are prosecuted, charged. And you are seeing in places like Montserrado County, that is part of Monrovia anyway. Grand Cape Mount County, of course, is at the border with Sierra Leone. When you check out Pujeon. So these are some of the places, and the elections are actually slated for Tuesday, 2023, when this election results are going to be. Elections are going to take place, and we see what the election commissioner will do. So let's come into Egypt, in North Africa. Egypt presidential bid protest led to 400 arrests. We all know that President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi announced that he would run for a third time, according to the local media. President Sisi's remark on Tuesday sparked a display of public anger. Various social media videos captured protests in northwestern city of Masha Morod. In the footage, people can be heard chanting, "Sisi out!" and calling for his decade-long regime to fall. Other videos show clashes between demonstrators and the police. And the Egyptian army is so strong, they could easily invade. They could take power. This is why sometimes, I don't know how Morsi, after Morsi won the election, though he had a violent sect of movement, the Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood. Everyone saying, so the privately owned Al-Mansa news website quoted Saleh Abu Attaya, the Secretary General of the Massa Matrabai Association, as saying that 400 people, mostly young men, had been detained. As they are saying, the former army chief has been in power since he helped oust Mohamed Morsi, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, in 2013, amid mad protests against his rule. Activists say that Mr. Sisi's term in office have been marked by brutal suppression of all opposition and the collapse of the Egyptian economy. That is what they are saying. Egypt presidential election are scheduled to take place in December. Let's see what will happen. So let's come into South Africa, in the southern part of Africa, just in the north. Oh God, Labour Minister have actually been clear of reviewing any payment of prominent business. That's what I'm saying. Maybe he was involved into corrupt payment. Employment and Labour Minister Tulos Nisi, and MP Cedric Follett, Mozambique Zambian, and Winnie Nakuni were implicated following an inquiry into allegations of large scale of corruption commonly known as state capture under former President Jacob Zuma. Mr. Muisi was accused of receiving payment from prominent businessmen. Edwin Sondi, the other 3 MPs were implicated in separate graft allegations. On Tuesday, the Parliament Joint Committee on Ethics and Member Interest cleared the 4 lawmakers, that is why they are saying how corrupt are of any wrongdoing. The Zondo Commission, named after a chairperson, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, revealed widespread graft involving state-owned entities, in an inquiry that ran between 2018 to 2022. No one has been convicted in any criminal trial so far. Current President Cyril Ramaphosa said recommendations from the inquiry would be implemented at an appropriate time. I don't know when will he be an appropriate time, when he will be leaving office. Sad. Okay, fans particularly directed, let's see, so that is so sad. We need to understand what is happening. So that is what happened, and we are also worried over maybe incidents like that, and nobody has actually been able to see what exactly would happen when everything comes to corruption into South Africa. People can easily be exonerated, maybe without any formal trial, and based on those things is a concern, and those concerns need to be highlighted, and the opposition also need to. But you have the like of Julius Malema, who is, to me, is a negative radical. Because watching at society, African society is situated on the time bomb, situated within the time bomb anyway. If you have people who believe in hate speech, violence, typical condemnation coming on the hem of affairs of South Africa, it will take a huge amount of trouble to allow people like that to maybe have say on what happened into such country. And now I believe we see the like of Julius Malema coming publicly to condemn the art. So let's see again. We come into Nigeria, into West Africa. Fire kills dozens at illegal oil refinery in Nigeria. Dozens of people have died following an explosion and fire at an illegal oil refinery in Nigeria's south. The incident said to have happened late on Sunday in Rivers State, but it was only widely reported on Tuesday. The state commandant of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense, Basel Ingwiwi, confirmed the incident to the BBC Pidgin language. He said that 18 people were born beyond recognition, while 25 were rescued. Mr. Igwibesi blamed people who vandalize oil pipelines and operate illegal refineries for the deadly incident. Illegal refinery is common in the region. Then while locals also have been stealing oil from pipeline. Last year, over 100 people actually died following the same incident. So let's come see. Afrobeat artists also in Nigeria. MohBad deaths have actually been reported to the police, which led to several protests. And some people were even, he's an Igbo anyway, people were saying maybe he's against the government, that is why the government used Naira Marley to ensure that he killed him. But Naira Marley also signed the young man, MohBad, some 2 years ago. He was with him, and series of violence against a person we have been reported. So he left. There was a time he wrote a letter or a call, and also wrote something on the social media page, and also locked himself up for quite a long time. He claimed that should anything happen to him, Naira Marley should be blamed. According to Naira Marley, he has condemned and distanced himself from whatsoever thing. But now the police are now proving into the incident, and Naira Marley has been arrested. And the police are definitely investigating his person, and according to Naira Marley, he posted on his ex social media that he's helping the police with investigation, and so that the police can uncover the truth behind the sudden death of MohBad. This is not responsible. MohBad was a respectable boy. He was once employed in his ministry or in his musical industry because he signed him. But he's totally innocent about what happened, and whosoever that might have wrongly alleged that he is the one responsible, let the law take effect, and they are definitely doing a kind of thorough investigation into the case. So the death of the 27-year-old star triggered protests actually and called for investigation from his fans, which led to police exhuming the body. And it was unfortunate that just after his death, his family rushed to bury him. This is the problem of Africa. Today somebody dies today, the next minute you are buried, especially when you are a Muslim. They wouldn't even allow you to even sleep for 2 or 3 hours. The next day you are 6 feet. Your 6 feet certificate can easily be warranted and just dash out to you. It's a very sad event, and this is what we're saying. So let us see a small boat carrying over 280 migrants has actually landed in Sweden. The vessel arrived on the remote island of Ihiro and 380 miles away from West Africa. From the western coast of rescue workers said that those who we actually rescue are from sub-Saharan Africa, places like Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, and other places. When they are talking about sub-Saharan, I'm not saying they are from Sierra Leone, I'm not saying they are from Liberia, I'm not saying they are from Guinea. When we say sub-Saharan Africa, we refer to West Africa actually. So that is what they are saying, and it was the largest number of migrants to have arrived in the archipelago region. So the crossing of the Canary Islands is the most common and dangerous type of movement on the coast. So it's a very sad event. That is why we normally see African leaders need to maybe live up to expectation and prevent our brothers and sisters living from the soil to seek greener pastures into Europe. Then finally we end in Sudan. Ethiopia embassy in Sudan have actually been came under attack. Okay, they said no casualties were actually reported from Tuesday onslaught, but the embassy was partially damaged. Yitebela Ayamuru Alimu, the Ethiopian ambassador to Sudan, told the BBC. The Sudanese paramilitary forces, the rapid military forces, which has been fighting the army since the 15th April, has blamed the military for the attack. That is what they are saying. The Sudanese army has not condemned the act. It is not the first time that the Ethiopian embassy in Khartoum has been attacked. An employee of the Ethiopian embassy in Sudan told the BBC that the embassy had been attacked by the airstrike 3 weeks ago. A security guard was wounded and windows were shattered, the staff member said. More than 5,000 people have died in the conflict and forced 5 million people, over 5 million people, and other across the borders of Sudan to other countries. So it's a very huge blow, and Africans need to be very careful about what they should do. So finally, I'm going to end my broadcast with a keen look on Liberia. I think and I feel that the Liberian situation is a precarious one, and our leaders need to be very careful, and they should not support any political violence to the country, because whatsoever thing that happens, it is definitely going to affect the layman, and we as Liberians, which as Sierra Leoneans and other country nationals, will definitely be affected. It's been me, Edward Amara, focus on Liberia, West African correspondent, coming to you with the latest development on the continent. Join me back same time, same place tomorrow. Thank you.